Good day, hi, and welcome. Wheel nuts again. All right. So what you're looking at here is some cracked wheel nuts. I finally got them undone. I got the caps off. I did all that. I wasn't able to film it. I had to get it done today. I got to get the wheels off. And today the wheels are going to come off. Why? Because not only am I handsome, but smart too. Smart like a fox. What the heck is that bug? Anyway, so these cap things here, you can see I already got some of the wheel nuts off. If you're wondering what that gray stuff is, that's anti-seize. Makes life a lot easier later on. So always, anti-seize is like Frank's Red Hot. I put that crap on everything. But these little caps, I got them off. This one's not too bad, so I'm just going to leave it. It's a 22 mil. And here's what's happening. I'll show you on the ones on the front, because I'm going to have to go through the same thing. Even though I already had this tire off, I'll have to take it off again. But these ones ain't too bad. You see that stud there? That stud there is what's underneath. Well, maybe not this one. That one looks like a different one. But there's a stud like this, or a nut like this, underneath these caps, and they're 21 mil. But what happens is people use, and you can sort of see it a bit here, they use, I guess, what's 22 mil? 7/8-ish? 25 mil is just about an inch. It's not exact, right? So, and when we're talking about wheel nuts, when you got something that's not exact, you get this. A nice round wheel nut, which guess what? Doesn't come off very well. This wheel Paul and I took off, and it was a pain in the ass to take off. But we got it off. And then I have the other wheel nut in the truck. But what I'm going to do is probably take all these caps off anyway, because they're kind of destroyed. Now, I don't want to mess with them on the side of the highway. But the wheel nuts have been cracked. I'll let that truck go by. The wheel nuts have been cracked. So the good news is that the wheel nuts have been cracked. So that means it's going to be easy to take them off. But how did I get them off? Okay, first I took off these coverings, right? Like you'll see on these nuts back here. And that's the way they're going to stay. And I'm just going to leave the anti-seize on them all winter. I'll hit it with the undercoating body oil, the rust proofing oil. Just leave them like that all winter. And then in the spring, maybe I'll clean them up a bit, whatever. If they're not too badly done, then there's no point in replacing them. But those all had caps on them. Now they don't. So I got them gooked with probably an overabundance of anti-seize, but whatever. And put anti-seize on the stud. So the next time, if you ever have to change your wheel on the side of the road, you really want that anti-seize on that nut, so you don't have to, so they're not seized on. What happens is, I'll show you on here. Especially if you guys like us up here in Canada, we have winter tires like this, and then we got summer tires, right? And usually summer tires give you a better economy in the summer. They're a harder compound, they last a little longer, but they're no good in the winter. The softer compound tires like this are better in the winter, but you don't want to drive with them all summer because you wreck your winter tires, right? So people swap them out. But if you're like me and you just leave winter tires on your vehicle all year round. Now, I know what your American guys are going to say. Why don't you just put all seasons on there? That's what people used to do. They just bought all seasons, which are the worst of both worlds, right? They're a lousy summer tire, and they are definitely not the most grippy. All seasons, trust me, before they were kind of banned, here you have to have winter tires, or you have, which you can see like the little mountain snowflake there, that's for winter tire. You either have to have winter tires on. Summer tires don't matter. You can ride your winter tires in the summer, but in winter you have to have winter tires because too many accidents with the all seasons. That's why they pulled them off. They found that there was people who had winter tires got in less accidents than people with all seasons. All seasons are really a bit of a gimmick. It's okay if you get 2 inches of snow or something like that, but when you get snow, a couple of feet of snow like we do, you know what I mean? So anyway, what happens is you have to change your tires out every, twice a season, right? Which if you do that, it's not so bad. But when you drive all the time with one type of tire on there, what happens is the nut will seize right at the seam here. Now with these caps, what happens is the salt gets in there, the hot, cold. You get a little bit of an expansion, moisture gets into the cap. The cap either A, swells on you and you can't get the lug nut wrench on there, Or B, the salt gets in there and it rusts out your lug nut and everything anyway. But if you put anti-seize on the stud, okay, it doesn't mean that that seam there won't seize to the rim. But what it means is that the threads will be protected and not rust inside the threads of the nut. So the easiest way, if you're on the side of the road, the first thing you want to do is crack the nut, right? How do you do that? Well, I'll show you how you do it. You do it the way a man would do it while being handsome. First off, you get yourself something you can use as a punch, right? And you just put it on there like that and give it a good whack with a hammer. Heavier hammer, better. It doesn't have to be a sledgehammer, just like a ball and peen or something. And you hit all of them. And what that does is cracks the rust. Trust me, I'm an expert at this. If you guys follow any of my channels for any length of time, you know how many times I'm freaking wrestling with wheel nuts. Because usually the garages put them on too tight. Or if somebody, like a lot of people, when you think Dodge, you're gonna think Imperial or SAE standard, right? You're not thinking metric, but these are metric. So people use SAE lug nut wrenches on that. So if you're using your 7/8 on there or whatever it is, what happens is that 7/8 is going to strip that down. It fits enough to say that you think it's the right size, but it's not. It has to be snug. But these caps wear out very easy because they're only like tin or something, I don't know, or aluminum, whatever they are. But anyway, when you crack that little crust there, now you can put your breaker bar on it. Now, what breaker bar, you ask? Well, this is what I did yesterday. I went and bought 2 impact sockets, $11 or $12 a piece, and this 24-inch breaker bar. This is my tire iron wrench. I cracked those wheel nuts like nothing yesterday. It was worth the money, and that's going to come in handy for multiple things. And then when you put them back on, these things are only $30 now. I got this for $20 many years ago, 1/2-inch drive. And that's all I'm using, 1/2-inch drive sockets. Torque them to whatever your specifications are. In my case, it's probably gonna be about 140, 150. That goes up to 140, that'll be good enough. But that's how you do it. Because even with this breaker bar, you can break the breaker bar, okay? Or the socket, which I've already broken a socket on this, in this ordeal. It was a cheap socket, but nonetheless, already broke a socket on this. And what happens is that rust will hold onto that little seam so tight that you'll be bending and bending and bending, and something's got to give, right? So either A, you strip the nut, which you do not want to do, because then you got to cut things off, and then you're talking big money, or bigger money. The second is, the second thing is that you either break the socket, or third, you just strip it out and then, or you break the lug. And you say that you can't break one of those. I've broken 1-inch breaker bars. There's nothing I can't break. There's nothing I can't break. So that is why you want to hit it with the punch first. It's harder on cars because like this, I don't care if I slip and hit the rim, right? Because it's an ugly rim. It's supposed to be ugly. It's a big bad Dodge for winter, right? But that helps crack that rust seam that builds up there. And it's every vehicle. It's not a Dodge thing. It's not a Ford thing. It's not a Mitsubishi or a BMW thing. It's a winter corrosion, natural rust thing. And then, like I say, what makes it less likely to happen the next time is anti-seize all the bolts. So anyway, before those clouds roll in, I got to get this thing jacked up, the wheels off, and I got to look at my brakes, my rear brakes, and then I got to go order some brake pads, I guess. But I just want to get everything off, and if I can do that much today, I'll be happy. Got to do everything in stages. I could have bought brake pads yesterday, but maybe it's just the calipers are seized. I don't know. I don't want to spend money until I know what I'm dealing with. I got the time to work on it. I'll take the time. So anyway, excuse me. So anyway, that's where I'm at. So I'll show you when I get this thing, all the tires off it and all that, and we'll go from there.